I realize the peace greeting is not going to be appropriate for this one. And I'm going to go ahead and say it, though. If you want to debate about the extent of white supremacy, how much it's there, how much it's not, what is a result of it, what is not, or what is a mixed result of it and something else, welcome. I'm willing to learn from you. If you're willing to learn from me, we can take turns talking. But if you are one of those, and shout out to BGS for inspiring this, if you're one of those that says, oh, it doesn't even exist, and you're living in the past and bringing up slavery and old stuff, if you're one of them, unsubscribe right off the bat. Be done. I don't need you. There's nothing I can learn from you, and I'll tell you why that is. I probably should hate you for denying the existence of something that's that bad, but understand this. If I was the devil, there are two things that I would do. If I really hate a species and I got nothing to lose, and the only comfort is going to be how many of them I can lead to the same place I'm bound to wind up in the end, because my ego rules me instead of me controlling it, then what I would do are two things. Number one, being invisible to everybody, I would certainly whisper into their hearts and minds that I'm not there. I don't exist. And I wouldn't be saying I don't exist. I'd be whispering into their hearts and minds, you have no enemies at all, period. The devil doesn't exist and everybody loves you. And I would start with the worst people in the world to tell them this. But secondly, I would, of course, come up with some sort of idea that would separate men from their maker, separate women from their maker. What the hell do you think white supremacy is? Huh? I mean, if you think about it, you can reveal the equality of man to people from above the seven heavens multiple times, and they would not believe it because of what? What stops them? If you think about it, if mankind has an enemy, he's going to hate the original version of mankind, i.e. Adam, whose name in Arabic means that he was black. So he's going to take whatever is the opposite and tell them you're the best. You're the absolute best. Nobody is as good as you are. Look at them. And then when people become hip to the game, you start saying it doesn't exist. You're imagining it. If I was the enemy, I would have done the exact same thing. If I hated mankind, I would hate the original copy or the original version first, the original variety. And in order to separate man from God, I would come up with something like white supremacy if I was the devil, if I hated mankind. I don't hate mankind. I hate devils. And if you sit up and say that it doesn't exist, then you are one of them, because you are trying to help people to fall into a trap that we know must exist because we've seen what it does. And you want to sit up and say, well, it used to exist, but it doesn't anymore. Let me help you out with something else, too. If I was a tiger, I want deer to think that tigers are extinct while I'm sitting there hiding and waiting, camouflaged. If I were a leopard, I want prey species to think that leopards are extinct, don't exist anymore. And when they start disappearing and asking each other, oh man, I'd love to be able to convince them, oh, you're disappearing because you're just a dumb species. That's all it is. Leopards don't exist. Predators don't exist. They're extinct. They haven't been around since the dinosaurs. You're living in the past. Because see, for me to tell them that means they're going to walk around in places perfect for a leopard or a tiger to hide and get snatched the up. And that's exactly what the hell you're doing. You're not helping out the prey, sir. You're helping the predator by lying and saying it doesn't exist. You were serving the very thing of which you deny the existence. And I don't really think you could possibly believe this, you deniers, and here's why. You can sit up and say that, white supremacy is not the reason they could storm the Capitol on January 6th and then go home and get arrested later. But let's, if you really believe that, you go put it to the test. I admit that it exists. You can't give me that challenge. I've already told, I admit it exists, but you believe it does not exist. So go ahead and put that to the test, buddy. Go storm, and don't bring anybody white with you. Don't even bring anyone that's light-skinned with you. Go and storm that Capitol building. Ain't nothing but some bras with abundant melanin counts too, just to make sure you really put that theory to the test. You don't walk out of there on your own recognizance. Either they walk you out in cuffs or they roll you out on the stretcher. End of story. You can't do that at a state government house. But white supremacy doesn't exist. My father's income was affected by that. Even though we grew up Huxtable, it was affected by that. He found this out last decade, he found that out. Okay? I had all three of my kids when I found out from him about that. I almost lost a job even here. Not a job, but a location, I should say. I almost lost one here because of white supremacy. And where I live, it is safe, non-violent. But I still darn near lost a position. It just so happened that I had a transfer arranged anyway, and so that's why it wasn't a ding on my record. But yeah, I almost suffered professionally for it even here. And you want me to believe it doesn't exist over there where you are, where I lived, where I left? F you from the bottom of my black heart and the depths of my black mind, and may Allah's curse be on you till you grow the uqf up, because you are helping the predator, sir. And don't come back with, we just become the predator and stop talking like you're a victim. F you again from the bottom of my black heart and the depths of my black mind. Because when you actually are a victim of something someone else did, it's okay to discuss it. What is not okay is to lay down, give up, and become a professional victim. But it is okay to admit that you were one for the time and to the extent that you actually were, so that you know how to not be one again. And what you want to do is sit up and say, well, you imagined it all. Unsubscribe. If you have already done so, go ahead and unsubscribe. This is not smoke, nigga. This is fire. And fit the guck out my face with that sure bit. Because in all honesty, you were so vile and despicable that if Allah had not forbade it and I could get away with it legally, I would put you in the trunks of cars, disable the escape handle, and burn the car with you in the trunk. Because you're that bad. That's not an opinion I'm bound to respect. It's not an opinion any black person, really any person of color, it's not even an opinion any white person should respect anywhere in the globe. The extent is debatable. It's like organized crime. You don't sit up and say, I'm the mafia. The mafia were the ones who denied the existence of it. Others would say it's a rumor. I don't know anything about it. No one's going to sit up and tell me all this information. That was how investigators knew that's how they knew who was in it and who wasn't. The ones who were in it were the ones saying it doesn't exist. You're imagining things. So I understand why we might debate the extent of it, the details. That makes sense. I learned from you in that case. You'll learn from me. You start denying it, BGS was nice. Get off my channel. And if I catch any of you doing it, I'm going to excoriate you on the spot. Black heart, black mind, blackout.